in America over the last 10 years? Counting or not counting gang violence? Great.
Alright, so you remember this old man who was arrested initially as the key suspect in the fatal shooting of Charlie Kirk when it happened. His name is Zinn, and he's 71 years old. Now, if you recall, when the shooting first occurred, Zinn was apprehended on site, and initial reports were circulating that he is actually the one who fired that fatal shot. It turns out that he even was screaming and openly confessing to security agencies who had picked him up that he actually fired that fatal shot. But guess what? It turns out he wasn't the person. And for doing that, he has found himself in a lot of hot water. Because, as it will turn out, Zinn, who initially was not being cooperative with investigators and was experiencing some medical issues at the time he was picked up, was actually sent to a hospital where he was admitted, and they gave him medical assistance. And after that, Zinn proceeded to tell investigators that he was not the shooter, but that he told them he was, in order to buy time for the actual shooter to make his escape. And I'm sure you'll be wondering, why would he do that? Okay, he went on to explain, and he says he did it because he was happy that Charlie Kirk got taken out by this shooter. And I just couldn't understand it, because I was wondering, why would he do that? And so is it that they are connected? But before I get to that, for doing that, Zinn has, as of a few hours ago, been charged with obstruction. And I'm going to explain why he has been charged with that. There's a second charge leveled against him, but I'll get into that one later on. But the main reason why he's been charged with obstruction is due to the fact that he actually created that thing, and it became a diversion which kept security agencies occupied, and therefore shifted attention away from the shooter himself. And that would explain why the suspect, Robinson, was actually able to make that escape, ditch the weapon, drive away and all. Because if you see the footage, you would realize that as soon as the shooting happened, they rushed to Zinn because of what he was saying, that he is the person who fired the shot. And they thought they've actually got the person who fired that shot. So that in itself would divert attention from looking around the perimeter to the point where they may possibly have seen the suspect, Tyler Robinson, getting out from that roof. So technically, he was obstructing the flow of the security work. And that is the thing. And that is the charge that has been leveled against him, to the point that, as it stands now, he is facing that charge. And I asked myself, is it that he planned it with the suspect, Tyler Robinson, such that, okay, you fire the shot, I'll create a diversion, or I'll create a distraction so he can escape? So I looked further into the history of Zinn, and it turns out he himself doesn't have a clean sheet. He has a criminal record dating as far back as 1980, and also being jailed for 1 year for a 2013 bomb threat. So he in himself has his own legal issues, and he's been tagged as a political gadfly. So you begin to have an understanding of why Zinn would have done what he's done. But I think another key thing that investigators would have to consider looking into is with regards to the question of whether he had a link with the suspect, Tyler Robinson, prior to this, and possibly they maybe planned it together, or it's just a coincidence? Because bear in mind, Charlie Kirk coming to the Utah University was information that was out there, so people knew in advance he's coming. So if somebody wants to do something, there's an opportunity to plan. And looking at how this happened, to me it seems a bit well coordinated, that as soon as the shot was fired, you have somebody else running and screaming, "I did it," and security agencies are focusing on that person, and it's enough for the actual shooter to escape. That's the thing. So that's one question I'm hoping they'll look into. But there's a second charge where he's been charged for possessing explicit material of young girls between the ages of 5 and 12, and these were found on his phone when he was arrested on site. At the time, he diverted the attention of the security agencies after the fatal shooting of Charlie Kirk. So that is the second charge that has been leveled against this guy. And if he was looking to become popular or a martyr or famous for this, I think he possibly have found a way to insert himself into the whole thing. But I still don't get it. I still don't get it as to how come it gets to this point, and for him to allegedly openly indicate that he wasn't the one who fired the shot, but he did it just so he would divert attention and hinder the efforts of law enforcement and draw their attention away from the real shooter, so the real shooter can actually get away. And that he was happy that Charlie Kirk got done like that. I just don't get it. Sincerely, I just don't get it, because what gives? Then at what point are we drawing the line here? I don't get it, because at his age, you would actually expect that he is a senior citizen and would actually be trying to do some good in the society by giving better counsel to the youth, not to be trying to facilitate the escape of a shooter who has just taken out the life of someone because the person has a different opinion on an issue from theirs. This is testament to the fact that there are some crazy people out there, and you never really know who you are dealing with. But like I said earlier, one key thing that I think investigators should look into is with regards to the question of whether these guys are actually linked. That is George Zinn and Tyler Robinson. Were they actually communicating before this incident? Were they in talks? Were they in any form of communication? Did they plan this together? I am suspecting there is a possibility they planned together. I don't think this is just a coincidence that the suspect allegedly just fatally shot Charlie Kirk, and there's this other person also coincidentally just saying that, oh, it's me. And it's enough to let the suspects escape. I think that there is a link that the police would have to dig deeper, and I'm sure they would. So like I keep telling you, I'm following the case. I'll bring you updates as and when they are due. Stay safe. I'll catch you on the next one.